Paltrocast.
Peter, how's your day going aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again today?
No, they're pretty good. There's some different ones.
Well, are you ready for compliments or are you maxed out for the day?
Oh, I can always accept compliments.
Okay, we'll start with the compliments related to Tommy Boy. I don't feel that enough people talk about how incredible the soundtrack to Tommy Boy is. Smoking Popes, Soul Coughing, Funk Junkies doing Kiss, etc. Paul Westerberg. Did you have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I think G. Mark Roswell was our music supervisor, and he introduced me to like Bare Naked Ladies and a few others. We didn't have a big budget, but we did have certain songs that were scripted, like the Carpenters, RS2, REM.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other things, I totally listened to Mark. He was really good.
Wow. Okay. So this particular movie, obviously, it's a classic. Decades later, people are still talking about it. The direct TV commercial a decade ago, I remember that. But did you get this because of your work on the Jackie Thomas show?
No, I got this because of Naked Gun, because that was my first movie, and so Paramount, rewarded me with another at bat. And so when I got the script for this, I was excited because I had worked with Chris before I did Naked Gun a couple of times on TV, and it was a dream to be able to, do his first starring role.
When you say that you'd worked with Chris a few times, is that Jackie Thomas show and or the ESPN spots?
The Jackie Thomas show was the second time I worked with him, and then I did a series of HBO specials called The Naked Truth with Tom Arnold, and that's where I met, Chris, Jim Carrey, Ben Stiller. That's where I met all those guys.
So did you direct the field segment where Chris is doing the pickup line to the ladies at the mall?
Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I love that.
Oh my God, you're like one of the only people. Yes, I was there, and one of the greatest regrets I've had is I had all of these extra field tapes that, I mean, boxes of them from following him around at the Glendale Galleria, threw them in the trash because the show was done and I didn't think I needed those raw tapes anymore. My God, I could have made a whole special.
Wow. Okay. So that actually feeds into something that I was curious about with Chris. Is there unreleased material from Tommy Boy that we haven't seen?
There are some deleted scenes on this DVD and extended scenes, so which is always kind of fun to watch. But no, I think, like I said, except for the stuff that wound up in the trash, which I will kick myself to the day I die. What you see is what you have.
So notably, Chris was in Billy Madison, which was filmed at the same time. So we know about that crossover. But was there ever talk about getting any of the Billy Madison people into Tommy Boy in a cameo?
No, I think they were filming at the same time.
Yeah.
They were, I don't know exactly where they were filming that movie, but we were off in the Great White North, and we were just clinging to life, trying to, write material for the next day. So we weren't even thinking about any creative cameos at that time.
So everything that I've read about Tommy Boy talks about how it was simultaneously really easy to make and really difficult to make, depending on what the scenario was. Do you look back at it all very fondly?
I do, because even though it was incredibly difficult to make it, it made, lasting relationships, friendships with the people, a lot of also people behind the scenes. I went back up to Toronto for the first time in 24 years, a couple of years ago, to make a movie called My Spy with Dave Bautista.
Hmm.
And it turned out that 12 members of our crew had worked on Tommy Boy. And it was really kind of a cool reunion. And I tried even asking the transportation coordinator, said, do you have any idea where those Plymouth GTXs went? He goes, no. Ended up finding one, though. I'm restoring it right now.
So My Spy was on my curiosity list because I also, one of your projects that I'm a big fan of is Heels. And every time I'd get the Heels junket, give me everyone except Peter. And that's what would happen. Not my casting out there. That's what would happen. So working with Dave Bautista, wrestler, on My Spy, did that in any way lead to Heels, or is it just coincidence that two wrestling related projects happened around the same time?
For some reason, I have worked with a lot of professional wrestlers in Longest Yard. I had, Stone Cold and
Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash,
Yeah.
a lot. Bob Sapp, then, Dwayne Johnson in Get Smart, the Great Khali, and,
Oh yeah.
and then finally, Batista. So when Mike O'Malley, pitched me, being the EP director on Heels, I felt like I was in familiar territory.
Sure. Now I know this is the Tommy Boy interview, and we keep saying Tommy Boy. That way the SEO picks it up and all that kind of stuff. But you said Bob Sapp before I could. And when you worked with Bob Sapp, that was around the time of Sapp time and his legendary status in Japan.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Bob Sapp?
He was a monster. I mean, huge physical being, but also a sweetheart. But I do remember that he frequently had to get on planes and go back to Japan for events constantly. He was flying back and forth from New Mexico where we're filming.
So while making Longest Yard, he had multiple trips to and from Japan?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So back in Tommy Boy, though, I'd imagine everyone was confined to that part of Canada for the whole shoot.
Until the Saturday Night Live season started. Then they were back and forth. That was what the big no-no is, to overlap with the season. So what it did is it costs, a little more money because we extended our shoot, because we could only shoot like 3 days a week instead of 5 or 6 days a week, because we were sharing them with SNL.
I would have thought that SNL learned its lesson with Wayne's World and the rush of that, but apparently not for Tommy Boy.
No, I think, I have always said Lauren's used to showing up on Monday with a blank sheet of paper and by Saturday
Sure.
having 90 minutes. So I think, having not a complete film script didn't phase him.
So
I, on the other hand, was very phased.
I can imagine. And again, we're still talking about this movie decades later. So two quick questions and then I let you go. And the first one is Naked Gun, to me, one of the classic comedy franchises of all time. Was that as much fun to make as it looks like it was?
No. Comedies are hard. And Naked Gun, I will say, is one of the hardest kinds of comedy to make because it is literally a ballet. And you have to choreograph foreground with background jokes and a certain cadence and delivery. And plus, it was my first film, so I was, terrified. But I remember looking behind me and saw this guy who was observing on my set for a couple of weeks. And I thought, what is this guy going to learn from me? I've never done this before. And it was Pete Farley. He was friends with David Zucker, and he was trying to observe because he was about to make his first movie called Dumb and Dumber. So I probably taught him all the bad things.
And OJ will never be the same after that movie. But last question I have for you, because Heels, we are still hoping that it might come back, etc. There's this great Tommy Boy anniversary, etc. Are we allowed to know what's coming next from you, or do we just have to wait for the embargoes to lift and read the trades and keep stalking IMDb?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. I've got some things cooking right now, but nothing I can really talk about. So we'll just talk about the 30th today.
The 30th today. And the fake real last question right here. Is there anything that you think anyone has wrong about Tommy Boy in general?
That's wrong about Tommy Boy. No, I think, well, yeah, critics, they have it wrong. But, I don't think they've affected the longevity of this movie. So good on them.
Well, thank you for the decades of great art and really looking forward to what's next.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Paltrow.